Hey budget nerds! Today we'll compare Synology's new DS224 Plus with their previous model, the DS220 Plus, and see which one you should get. Synology has always been a pretty big player in the NAS industry. The DS220 Plus I reviewed back in March of 21 was a pretty solid entry-level NAS. It had decent specs and great software and app support. As long as you upgraded the RAM, there was quite a lot you could do with it. I really liked it and recommended it for those who were looking to dabble in a commercial NAS ecosystem. Synology reached out and asked if I would review their new DS224 Plus. I took one look at it and thought the same thing you likely did. It looks the same, so what is different? Since most of the specs are the same, I won't dive too deep into them in this video. If you'd like to go deeper, you should check out my other video, link in the description. Well, let's get into it. When you check out the box, nothing has changed here. Besides the NAS, you get two Ethernet cables, a power adapter, and some hard drive screws that you will likely not need. Upon visual inspection, the only difference between them is this 4. Installing drives is just as easy with these toolless rails, which the DS220 Plus has as well. Both will also support 2.5-inch drives. However, you won't need SSDs to max out the gigabit ports both models use. The quick version is they are virtually the same with these exceptions. The 224 Plus gets a faster Intel Celeron J4125 quad-core processor rated at 2 GHz, bursting to 2.7, while the older DS220 Plus had the J4025 dual-core processor rated at 2 GHz as well, bursting to 2.9. If you compare these processors, they are very similar, having the same amount of cache, same TDP, released in the same quarter of the same year, so it's not a newer processor, it's just a quad-core version from the same era. CPU Mark does give it a higher rating, and so does Synology, touting 62% higher responses per second, 52% faster file indexing, and 28% faster photo indexing. However, if you compare the single-core performance, the dual-core chip is slightly higher, and strangely, the DS220 Plus is missing from Synology's own comparison website. If you're using an app or feature that can only take advantage of a single core, then you might not see a huge benefit. Now, of course, I'm oversimplifying this. There are other factors at play here, but it's very safe to say your results may vary, depending on your use case. Where you might see some performance improvements would be processor-hungry apps you might have installed, or video encoding. I use the DS220 Plus for Plex streaming and have never needed more performance. But I've also never needed any encoding. Now, this NAS comes in at $300. The DS220 Plus came in at the same price when it was new. It's nice they can upgrade the processor and come in at the same price point with a new model, so that's a welcome thing. You can currently find both for the same price right now on Amazon, with the older model cheaper in some places, especially the used market. If you already have a DS220 Plus and its CPU isn't a bottleneck, then you probably don't need to upgrade. If you have neither, then it's easy to recommend the newer model. Or is it? This NAS does have some stiff competition. For example, there is the TerraMaster F2 223, which has better specs, including a better processor, more RAM, faster network ports, and 2 M.2 slots, all while being $50 cheaper. when the DS224 Plus only officially supports up to 6 GB of RAM and has no M.2 slots. While this Terramaster does flex on the specs, Synology has always had great software and app support. Their DSM OS is a joy to use, and it's very easy to set up. With this newer model, you'll get DSM updates farther into the future over their older models, of course. However, right now, the older DS220 Plus will upgrade to DSM 7.2 that the DS224 Plus comes with. So for now, they're even on this playing field as well. While this DS224 Plus does offer more performance, there are parts of it that are starting to age. Some NASs are starting to offer 2.5 gigabit or multi-gigabit Ethernet ports, while this one still uses 1 gigabit. It's hard to knock it too much at this price point. They both do support link aggregation, which could speed up your transfers some, but this is still starting to become a consistent bullet point on my list. To sum it all up, if you already have the DS220 Plus and its CPU is enough for you, then you wouldn't really need this small upgrade. If you don't need a little bit of extra horsepower, this new version can give you, and don't mind shopping around, the value you can get out of the DS220 Plus is great. If you don't own a NAS at all, and want to stick with a Synology entry-level NAS, then I would recommend the DS224 Plus. Just keep in mind it does have some stiff competition. Just shop around until you're sure. If these two end up being the same price, then get the 224 Plus. Once the 220 Plus is discontinued, the 224 Plus will become the de facto entry-level Synology NAS to recommend. There is a link to both below in case you want to grab one or the other. Keep in mind, if the price is the same, of course, go with the 224 Plus. Thanks for sticking around. Until next time.